Well, hello there, you beautiful, beautiful, amazing, wonderful people. It's Thursday. Thursday already. Where has this week gone? It's crazy how quick this week is going. But it's going to start getting quicker now as we head towards Christmas. 100 and something days till Christmas. But we do have Halloween first, and we all love a bit of Halloween, don't we? Anyway, you're looking absolutely amazing. I'm going to get straight into the meat and potatoes, as this morning we are going to be looking at this video, which I can't work out whether she's actually being fucking serious. I genuinely don't know if she is being serious. I know I don't I don't get it. I don't get it. But we're going to look at it together, and we obviously have to do the standard, stop, start, and talk over it for fear of getting struck down with furious anger and all that jazz. But check this out, and let's be brutally honest, because I think sometimes we have to be brutally honest. And you know me, I do love being brutally honest. But listen to this. If you've already seen it, you'll know where I'm going with this. If you haven't seen it, strap yourselves in.
A witness who appears to be Dylan Mortensen told police that she has no idea why she was spared that night, even though Koberger saw her and knew that she saw him. The interviewing officer writes this, and I quote.
So she definitely knows that he saw her because they're staring each other point blank in the face then. If you are in a situation where you think, this guy saw me, this person saw me, let's not forget, and what this dribbly twat doesn't raise is, how can you look at someone in the face, stare at them, not mention bushy eyebrows whatsoever until you're prompted to do so, and then later on be shown a picture of the individual and not be able to recognise them. You don't recognise them. It's not like you look and think, yeah, that's the person that I fucking saw. And we also have confusion as to whether she actually watched them walk out of the door or not, or whether she went back in their room and then she assumes that they went out the back door. The confusion there. And there's another bit which we'll get to as we make our way through this video, what pisses me off even more, because again, this dribbly twat was involved in a story that originated from her version of events, or apparent version of events that she helped push out into the public domain. And this is someone who people listens to and gives credence to. But let's carry on.
Does not believe anyone ever tried to open her door during the time he was in the house. And he could easily have done so. She volunteered that to come through the sliding glass door, the person would have had to scale a tall wall. She advised the suspect...
Like this bit here about having to scale a tall wall to get in through the sliding glass door. Are we not saying that that's the sliding glass door from the kitchen then? We're now saying that they came in through a different sliding glass door? Let me know down below. Let me know down below.
Would have known her room would have been occupied because he appeared to have known the layout of the house. She also...
So how would this individual have known the room was occupied that night if they knew the layout of the house? Just knowing the layout of the house, you would know that the room on that particular night was occupied. That in itself is a red flag, is it not? Is it not? To assume that someone would know that your room is a bedroom and that it's occupied. That to me is a bit of an alarm bell, and saying that this individual knew. And I did touch on this the other day about Dylan Mortensen and her alternative suspect. And this is another thing what Banfield doesn't actually address, I do not believe, or raises as the primary issue here, which this is all part of Dylan Mortensen starting to talk about what would be an alternative suspect.
It could have been someone who was in the house last year when other girls were living in the house.
Which is when this individual, who she is going on to talk about, it would say had actually become violent towards one of the friends. But again, does Banfield actually speak on that subject?
Dylan took a lot of undeserved abuse online from trolls. I hope you're happy.
And the funny thing is here, you, Banfield, have been some of the cause of the flack that she has caught, because it was you who was an antagonist of pushing out stories like that Dylan Mortensen called people over to assist in getting into the room, Xana Canodal's room, because the door was shut. You was literally one of the very first people, if not the first person, who had discussed that openly in the public domain, which would later turn out to be false bollocks that would then raise alarm bells, and people would then start to think, hold on a second, why is this story changing? And you don't acknowledge that. You don't acknowledge that the story has changed. And it gets worse.
Those trolls just couldn't understand how she didn't realize her roommates had been slaughtered. But when you read her statement, you find out just how little the survivors, the friends, the kids who came over that next morning, just how little they really knew.
Ah, my word. And I'll tell you why I have to fucking laugh here. Because this isn't an old video. This was done yesterday. This video was done yesterday. So she's talking about a statement where the statement is actually talking about an alternative suspect. That's what this is, which she completely fucking ignores. And not only that, but she's talking about this statement and how little they knew, while simultaneously ignoring that we have all seen the body cam footage that would show that Dylan Mortensen had heard screams. She had heard running about in the house, frantic running as quick as they could, fast as they could, running around the house, and seeing Xana Canodal on the floor. And then she goes to make out like she didn't know anything. They didn't know anything. What are you talking about? They didn't know anything. We've seen the body cam footage. We've listened to her explain exactly what she saw and what she heard. She literally sees a stranger in her house wearing a mask who shouldn't be there. She hears screams. She hears running. She sees a roommate laying in the doorway of a fucking room. And you sit there and say that this statement proves how little they fucking knew. Are you mental? Are you mental? Because that is, oh my word, it's you cannot be being serious. Anyway, carry on.
What had happened inside. Let me read you this quote. She advised she initially stayed. Wait, let me start again. She advised she initially went upstairs from, and this is redacted, but we know it's Bethany's bedroom, with redacted, we think that's Hunter Johnson. And she advised when she saw Xana, she realized Xana had not moved since she saw her earlier. She was still thinking Xana was still passed out from being drunk.
So why not approach? This is the bit that, again, she doesn't fucking address. Because what we're saying is, 8 hours previously, she sees someone in the house. She hears screams. She hears running and fucking knocking about. She then sees Anna laying on the floor of her room. Then basically was saying, oh, she then fucking ignores that, and for 8 hours doesn't even think about venturing out of Bethany Funk's room to go and check the house whatsoever. They just fucking ignore and sit in their room doing nothing but being on their phones after trying to ring and call and text and whatever. Do you know what I mean? And then she comes out 8 hours later and she's saying, oh, I still thought she was passed out from being drunk. So you didn't at any point in time think to go and check her. And you think to yourself, why would you not go and check her? Why would you not fucking walk over and check her? Now, there's only two things that make sense here, and that is that you fucking know something's happened and you daren't approach because you daren't fucking see what you know you're going to see. So you are actively avoiding seeing what you know you're going to see, or You just don't give a fuck enough to go and check on someone who is passed out on the floor? I don't fucking understand. I don't understand. And why nobody on that camp, this camp, can address that is beyond me. Is absolutely beyond me. There is no fucking explanation that makes that make sense. No logical explanation that makes it make sense. You either knew that she was dead and you didn't want to approach her, or you just didn't care enough to go and check that she may have been under the influence of alcohol then and was still laying on the floor. I genuinely don't understand it. Can't make heads and a tail of it.
Think about this. Dylan saw Xana on the floor in her t-shirt and underwear down the hall at 4 o'clock in the morning after all the craziness, right? Sees her as she's running by her room and going down to Bethany's room and thinks, there's Xana, she's passed out drunk.
But I'm not going to do anything. Fuck it. I'm just going to leave her laying on the floor, passed out drunk, laying on her fucking back, let her choke on her own fucking vomit.
8 hours later, she sees her in the same position on the floor. But she still didn't think any more had happened than Xana passed out last night. Maybe she...
Because she couldn't put two and two together and think, well, fuck me. I saw someone in the house all dressed in black with a mask and they were carrying something. I heard screams. I heard running about round the house. I can't get hold of fucking nobody. I've tried to ring them. I've tried to call them. Everything. I've tried to text them. Not that ring and call are different things. They're the same thing. And I fuck off, man. It doesn't make sense.
Xana's OD'd. This is serious. She doesn't realize how serious the situation really is. Then they say she advised they stayed in the house when the police arrived, and the police, were putting the crime scene tape up when they realized there'd been a crime.
It literally took oh my word, there's been a crime. They're putting tape up. You see fucking someone in your house, you hear screams, you hear running, you see people laying on the floor of their doorway, you see them still laying in the exact same position 8 hours later. And let's not forget, you then call 911, or a 911 call goes out, and then people come over in that 911 call. And again, my question has always been, when that 911 call was made, did these individuals know that people were dead inside this house before the call was made? And I say, yes, they did. Yes, they did. They knew that people was dead inside that. That is my opinion. I'm not saying my opinion is fact, but it is my opinion, because I can't make sense of people who are saying that they heard what they heard, they saw what they saw, they didn't call 911 earlier, they left it 8 hours, and trying to claim that they didn't understand, didn't know what had happened before the 911 calls made, yet they was on social media, they were on the phone pretty much for hours. There's only a small window where it goes dark, and they're even trying to call their parents as well. Yeah, I'm not buying it. Even if they were calling their parents to explain what they had seen and heard and they can't get out, why wouldn't the fucking parents turn around and say, you need to call 911, mate? You need to get on the phone and call for help, call for assistance. Get out of the fucking house. Get out of it and call 911. Get out of the door. There's literally a front fucking door, what we're being told was open, outside Bethany's fucking bedroom door. They could have just gone outside. They didn't even get out of the house. They didn't have to venture back upstairs. Do you know what I mean? They could have just walked out of the fucking house and called 911, ran out the house. Doesn't make sense to me.
When they saw the ambulance arrive and leave, like literally they didn't even know there'd been a crime until they see the police putting the crime scene tape up and they see the ambulance come and go.
Because they're clearly fucking idiots then.
Redacted told them that they would not leave unless there was no reason to stay. She then advised the Vandal alert came out, and that is when they realized their friends were actually gone. So Dylan and the others didn't even know that a crime had been committed.
Are you joking? Seriously, are you joking? It literally took the Vandal alert to go out to inform these individuals. It weren't until at that point that they realised that a crime had been committed. And you guys out there are buying this shit. you are listening and thinking that that is an accurate representation of how this all went.
Didn't know. Cops are there. They think Xana's just passed out. Suddenly, yellow crime scene tape. They know something bad happened. But they didn't know anyone had died until the whole university finds out with the
And again, I can't stress this enough. If you believe or you don't believe that any crime has been committed, this is what we're saying. We're saying that they didn't believe that any crime had been committed. This is the important thing to understand, and I want you to reconcile that down in the comments. So we're saying that they didn't know anything. So they didn't know that a crime had happened, and that's why they didn't call 911 for 8 hours. So if they don't believe a crime has happened at all, so you're not frozen in shock phase, you're not scared of anything because you don't believe anything's happened. So there's nothing to be scared of. You know, if you just believe that your friend has passed out drunk and they're on the floor, you know, your roommate, again, surely that would trigger a specific response, and that would be to walk over to them and try to rouse them, or perhaps think, fuck, you can't leave them laying on the floor. Let's try and get her up and get her in a bed. Bethany, Xana's passed out on the floor, mate. Come and fucking help me get her into a room. Where's fucking Ethan? Do you know what I mean? You know, where is Ethan? Do you know what I mean? In all of this, you know, I don't understand. You can't have your cake and eat it. You can't say they didn't know anything, that anything bad had happened, but then on the flip side of it say they didn't know anything bad had happened. They obviously didn't think a fucking murder had happened. How stupid is that? So you just think Xana is under the influence of alcohol and laying in her underwear and T-shirt on the floor. So you think, fuck it, I'm just going to leave her there. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to approach her. And you do that for 8 hours. Please reconcile that with me. Please do. Because I can't make head and a tail of that. Let's see where we go with this.
Alert on their phones. At the end of her interview, Dylan gave investigators a sample of her DNA, and she warned the officers that they might have a tough time finding the suspect's DNA because, let me quote, she advised it might be difficult to locate the offender's DNA because they had conducted a deep clean of their residence leading up to the parents' weekend.
Which is funny because they're saying it might be difficult to locate the offender's DNA, right? This is why it's important. It might be difficult to locate the offender's DNA because they had conducted a deep clean of their residence leading up to the parents' weekend. So you think to yourself, well, hold on a second. Why would it be difficult to locate the offender's DNA? Because they'd done a deep clean of the residence previously. Before this crime had happened. Surely you'd turn around and say, look, it might actually be easier to obtain the DNA of whoever did this because we've recently deep cleaned the house, so we can pretty much tell you who's been in the house who we know by the DNA that's in the property. So we'll be able to say, if you find all the DNAs here, we can say, well, so-and-so was here, so-and-so was here, so-and-so was here. And if there's a DNA that sticks out that doesn't belong, then we know that could have potentially been the perpetrator. This entire situation doesn't make sense. To say it's going to be difficult to locate the offender's DNA because a deep clean of the property had been done before the fucking crime occurred. What are they actually talking about? Again, are you fucking kidding me? It doesn't make sense. You know, this is where critical thinking comes in. And you think to yourself, well, that's fantastic. You've deep cleaned the house. So any DNA, like blood on fucking banisters or anything like that, will have come into the property after the deep clean leading up to parents' weekend. So when we hear that there was other DNA that was fucking ignored, including blood that was ignored, instead of the knife sheath, the trace DNA on the knife sheath, on the movable object that was prioritized over everything else in a house that had multiple DNAs, including DNA under the fingerprint, under the fingernails of one of the victims, again ignored, prioritized knife sheath that we haven't even seen in any footage yet. But that's by and by. This doesn't make sense. Again, explain to me how that even makes sense.
And asked about when the deep clean of the residence happened, it would have been before the weekend of the crimes. Well, that answers a lot of questions. I thought there would have been years of evidence of people, hairs and fibers and footprints and fingerprints of all the parties.
Oh, and let's not forget that it was stated within the court documents that there was evidence that this scene had been cleaned. We have an 8-hour period of time with no real logical movement or actions or activity and a load of questions, and we do have documentation that would suggest that this crime scene was cleaned, latent footprints being found. It's this, and they're saying, well, the property's been cleaned, it's been deep cleaned. Why would you even bring that up? Why would you even bring that up? And why would you tie in that a deep clean could affect them being able to find the perpetrator's DNA? Very important. It's very important to distinguish between when somebody says something that makes sense and when it doesn't make sense. And you think to yourself, why would you say that? Why would you say that a deep clean may affect the ability to locate the perpetrator's DNA if the deep clean happened prior to the perpetrator coming into the home and doing this act? Something fishy going on there, mate. And she is stupid and doesn't understand and doesn't raise it.
Had come in and out of that house, but these girls cleaned and cleaned and cleaned before their parents came for Parents' Weekend, the weekend before the murders. Probably vacuumed up a lot of evidence.
What evidence? Vacuumed up a lot of evidence. Are you fucking mental? I can't listen to her. I can't listen to her anymore because she's so fucking stupid. How can you be that stupid to misinterpret what that is saying? Am I insane? Am I insane here? How is she not understanding that you can't vacuum up evidence of a crime prior to the crime being committed? You can. I'm speechless. Let me know down below what you think. I'm going because she's driven me fucking insane. Love you all. Mwah.